A very good morning. It's nice and quiet out here as I like it. It's actually supposed to, according to the forecast, there's supposed to be 9 days of rain. But I don't see any sign of rain, so I'm making the most of the good weather, if you want to call it that, because it's still warm. So I'm out here speed walking for exercise. And look, there's nobody ahead of me. I don't know what it is with me and people. It's not so much with me and people. It's just, even from I was a young child, I liked solitude. But yet, weirdly, I'm a very social creature. When I'm out and about, I'm very, well, you've seen my videos. I interact with people very well when I'm out and about. So I guess what they would call me is a paradox. Right, so I'm speed walking, which means I'm going to be huffing and puffing probably. Gosh, let me gather my thoughts. Right, so I might have to slow down slightly if I'm going to record this. Either not record or slow down. But let's see how we go. Right, so there's a couple of things actually. Right, one of my friends sent me a message this morning with some links on it, and it is to do with the vaccine, let's say. And those who have been paying attention know what I attributed my mother's death to. Woman as strong as an ox, no health problems, and then suddenly out of nowhere, aggressive lung cancer, and dead within days, weeks. Right, so piece that together. So what it is, there's evidence coming out about you know what symptoms and so on, meetings that people are having and not putting the full facts out there. At this point, I should say I don't actually care, because from day one, right from the very beginning, I saw through this thing. And the only thing that an individual can do is to do the right thing as they know it to be. But in order to do the right thing, I keep saying this, and I've said it many times. As part of my self-development program, which I actively embarked upon, and I mentioned this in the book, when I sat down with pen and paper and made 2 columns. One, qualities to get rid of, qualities to develop. Among the qualities to develop was assertiveness. You cannot walk through this life, you cannot negotiate society unless you're assertive. You have to be assertive. And I know for a fact, talking about the thing that I was just talking about, that there are many people who, knowing better, went ahead and did it because they got pressured by family, friends, employers. They listened to scientists, government. They found an excuse to comply. Knowing better, you shouldn't do worse. We had a saying in Jamaica, or rather the adults used to drum this into us. Who know better, do better. Right? So I was saying in conversation the other day that there were 12 children, 5 of us, brother, 3 sisters, myself, plus 7 grandchildren of the lady who was hired to look after us in the time that we were in Jamaica. I've said before, we lived with complete strangers, and my parents sent money. It's a long story. But the way that she operated, this is a lady who used to look after us. If one person did something, if one of us did something, if she was going to beat one, she was going to beat all. Therefore, it was up to all of us to make sure that nobody did something that was going to incur a beating, because we knew that we would get beaten as well, even if it had nothing to do with us. Saying it wasn't me wasn't an excuse. The only way to avoid the beating, the communal beating, if you want to call it that, was to make sure that whoever it was, the culprit, whoever did whatever it was that was going to incur the communal beating, owned up. It was only unless if that person didn't own up, then we were all going to get it. Right, so that's how it was there in Jamaica. Here, in modern day UK society, it's not so much that people don't take responsibility, or that others are going to get in trouble. Actually, in a way, yes. You got social workers, for example, if parents don't do the right thing by their children. Social workers, teachers, doctors, other adults in positions of responsibility can get into trouble, but not the parent. Or for example, you've got, like, if somebody's got an allergy, it's not up to them to make sure that they protect their health, they look after their life. It's up to the restaurant. So if they go to eat at a restaurant, it's on the restaurant owner to make sure that no harm comes to them, not them. So it's the same thing with this thing that I began talking about at the top. The reports are out, and people will not take responsibility for the fact that they made the choice, but they will blame doctors and scientists. I take responsibility for everything that happens to me. And in order for me to do that, as I said, I have to, well, actually I didn't say this, but I've said it in previous videos. Sometimes nice is not an option. So, in order for me, from the very beginning of the coronavirus lockdown, to go about my business, there was a lot of arguing. Not on my part, because I just do my thing. A lot of people were telling me I'm irresponsible for not wearing a mask and putting others at risk. And I think I made the videos where I said I'm not responsible for anybody's health apart from my own. And seeing that the masks are there to protect others, I'm not asking anybody to wear a mask to protect me. Right, so nobody ever needed to wear a mask to protect me. And in the same way, I didn't wear a mask to protect anybody, because as I said, I saw through it. So therefore, nobody was at risk from me. Right, so now it's coming out. And even those who bought in, even those who sort of took a negative approach to the way that I went about living, I carried on as normal as best as I could, obviously. There were certain things that were shut down, clubs, bars, gyms, etc. But I sort of, obviously can't go to places that are shut down. But you just carry on and you do what you do. So for example, with the buses, trams, trains, I just didn't get on them because they required you to wear a mask. I simply didn't. I just walked. I stayed local and I walked everywhere. So you see what I mean? You do what you have to do and you stand by your principles. So I managed to do that because I'm assertive. There are people who knew as much as I knew, who understood as much as I understood, but they're not assertive. So they succumbed. And now there's evidence coming out of side effects. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? When I say what am I supposed to do, it's like there's no point telling me about it or even trying to tell me that I was right, because it's not about being right or about being wrong. It's about living your life. So if people make choices, like I did say to Mother, I told her everything that I understood, and I told her not to do it. But she went behind my back. Well, not behind my back as such, but she was a big woman and she had her own free will. But she said her friends took it and they're okay. Well, she's not okay now, is she? But, I mean, I don't even know what to say, because people might say I'm cold. How can you not care? But for me, the caring part is when you're aware of something. So, like, for example, I do these videos. I will post on Facebook, which I was doing right from the very beginning. I was posting on Facebook, and people are coming on there telling me, you're so insensitive. My wife is a nurse and blah, 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 this, that, the other. How would you feel if, you know, that kind of language? So in the end, what I did was, when I was out and about, I would take pictures or do videos and post to show, look, here I am. But there was a time when people were saying to me, oh, the police are arresting people. And I met 2 police officers at the train station who were there, and they thought it was ridiculous. I won't say which station, but it's one that I travel to all the time. And they thought it was ridiculous being asked to police something that they themselves didn't believe in. They didn't buy into it themselves, but they were being asked to police it. So, cutting a very long story short now, and jumping forward to where we are, there are people that I no longer have contact with. Not because I cut contact with them, but because we just drifted apart. Because when this thing happened, they bought into it hook, line, and sinker. And I guess they didn't want to hear anything that I had to say. One friend who said he was going to take the vaccine because this was before it was even rolled out. He would take it because he likes to travel, and there were people who, because they couldn't deny themselves a holiday, even knowing what they knew and suspecting what they suspected, they were still going to go ahead because they needed to go on holiday. The other thing that was vital to my development program was discipline. You have to have the discipline to be able to stop dead, to be able to just stop doing a thing. So that's why lockdown didn't bother me, because I was able to contain myself, even though, yes, I do like my own company. I was able to contain myself within the four walls without needing to see people, without needing, certain activities I could just stop, and there was no withdrawal symptoms on my part. So I was able to adjust, and that was a consequence of discipline. That's being self-disciplined. So again, I reiterate the two important things. Discipline. You need self-discipline, and you need assertiveness. Develop those and anything can happen. Magnificent things can happen. Yeah? That's all. All right, I'm going to leave that here now. Look after yourselves. Bye.